Oh, do we left? Whoa.
Things are currently tied 1-1 so far in our series between Gale Force eSports and No Tomorrow as we get ready for our next battleground, game number 3.
What do you think it's going to be?
I cheated.
Why do you always got to do this to us? We just want to ask and understand the analysis, your perspective on where you think we're going to go, Gilly. Why do you always got to come out with like these facts and stuff?
I think we're going to Infernal Shrines.
You are correct. Gale Force is taking us there. Not surprising that it's Gale Force that would, you know. There, again, is not major standout when it comes to strengths over this map. But I feel like if any team I like to pick this, it would be them over No Tomorrow. Nothing stands out other than Equinox Kerrigan is all I think of when I think of No Tomorrow's strength onto this map.
I'm starting to think more of Casanova's Diablo, too. Casanoblo.
No, I don't know if that. I don't think that's in our. Yeah, we can't do that one. It's a sad day, man.
I really wanted to portmanteau that.
Yeah, you have like those moments that you're like, oh, this could be it, right?
It's a 50-50. It's either going to be great or terrible. That just happened to be the latter.
All right, game number 3. Again, these teams are so evenly matched, and more importantly, are all tied up.
I have a fun fact for you.
Hit me with it.
Neither team has lost so far on this battleground in Phase 2.
Gilly, I hate to inform you, but I think
one of them is going to have to.
We figured it out.
Why do you have to do this to me? Why can't we all be winners today?
You know, only one team can. And whoever it is has got to be feeling so pretty about their odds to go to the Western Clash. I'm not even going to talk about until, if No Tomorrow wins, we'll highlight it a bit more, but how absolutely unheard of it would be if No Tomorrow would be that team to make it not only to climb to the top of North America, but to be like those international representatives. Again, they've been around for a long while, but they've never been top 4 in their lives, I would say, other than Equinox.
Yes.
Jason's an outlier when his time on Eventic, but only on his time on Eventic. And even then, they were falling. So, you know, every one of them, other than Equinox.
I don't know. He was only on Naventic for, I think, one tournament, maybe. I think it was the second fall regional championship of last year.
Which is essentially almost an entire year ago. And even then, it was on the kind of decline of Naventic. So really, again, none of these players, other than Equinox, are even used to being able to say, I'm top 4 in North America. Like, it is just amazing that we have found ourselves into this position.
Yeah, I think it credits the HGC system that they're able to have this constant competition, constant practice. It credits Equinox that he's able to come in, but also just as much the other players that they are willing to have him come in. Casanova to give up the melee role that he loved out of respect of what Equinox could do for the team if they just are willing to go along with it and fully commit themselves to it, and they are. So it's a huge credit to No Tomorrow that they have beaten Tempo Storm, and they are sitting here tied with Gale Force eSports. Now let's get to the draft.
And on the note of the draft, we got the Tassadar ban, not surprising. The Genji ban, you've heard us talk about it. These teams are always going to be banning or first picking the Genji. But the, you know, kind of wild one is the Arthas. And it's not that wild because it's still for Gale Force, but I think it proves the conspiracy theory I built over the last one. I sensed it in Game 1. It was only followed through in Game 2. Game 3, we still see the high Arthas. That's all Gale Force is going to prioritize. They very much are comfortable with that, but we still see the fall stat. High 2-3 here for No Tomorrow. We saw that on Cursed Hollow, and again, now on Shrines.
Yeah, that is showing clearer and clearer that No Tomorrow still value that they have fall stat, and a Genji ban kind of enables that even more. Diablo ban once again from Gale Force, but again, this makes more sense this time. It's not a third warrior. This time, it is a possibility that Equinox would still play Diablo alongside Casanova's Anubarak.
And seeing it again here, I'm just kind of convinced that maybe it's just flat respect for Casanova's Diablo. Just the pressure he applies onto the front line. I mean, when we saw it into the last game and now seeing it here. Again, this one, way less like, oh, that's coming out of nowhere for the map and for the circumstances of the draft so far.
Coming out of left field.
Yes, you nailed it. We did it. You played sports ball today.
We're going to get there yet. Ariel ban. So now that Gale Force has this double warrior, making sure that there's not a double support Vala behind it too. No Tomorrow covering their bases.
They are covering. Oh man, you are nailing it. My goodness, somebody just. Small round of applause. They are covering their bases, Gilly, and you could say it might be a grand slam if they could, in fact, pick themselves up a reset here for Gale Force eSports, mainly because when we see them pick up the Arthas, it's, again, a backliner who can get the flashy plays. Genji is gone, so do we see the Li Ming here? Even though it's a map that's not necessarily her most dominant, because the Shrines, the Skeletal Defenders are a problem, but to let the Cocoon, I feel like we got to have a Li Ming here. She's thinking.
Yeah, so Gale Force ran a triple melee last time they played on Shrines with Sonya, and Fan played Sonya, and then they had Greymane, though, to back it up, so that was a really good Shrine clear hero still, and then, of course, Sonya was, too. So I wonder if Gale Force is going to go that direction. They get their support, they have their first choice over support, but then I wondered if maybe instead not having Genji to go along with Li Ming or even Greymane, instead K1 Pro would move into the Lunara, and that's what he does.
I mean, still as the last pick, though, we are yet to know what that secondary range is going to be. It's just that a little bit less onto the argument of, you know, Arthas filling that role to be able to enable it. They just view it as a strong warrior, the best, maybe, warrior as that front line. It makes a lot of sense, again, because he's so very diverse in double warrior. If you need that, he complements most compositions.
Well, he still enables Lunara, too.
Yeah. So we're just now, it's just going to be, do they still go with a resetter as the last pick for Gale Force eSports specifically? Is it going to be the Li Ming? But here for No Tomorrow, they still need their support, and they're going to need somebody melee frontline to be able to help them out.
Equinox. We're
Is it
still
the
waiting
Kerrigan?
on Equinox's hero.
This is such an anti-Kerrigan comp, though. No way.
Yeah.
Does he have that kind of confidence? A
For
Thrall!
the Horde!
And it's going to be the Rhaegar there to help out with those shrines, thanks to Lightning Bond is level 1.
Ooh, we can talk about Thrall. Some of the changes that came in from Thrall. Things are being thrown around the studio. Everyone's really excited about Thrall, guys.
Oh, man. For Gale Force, what do they want? What is the last pick? I'm with the Lunara pickup, it doesn't have to be, but it still screams something with that can gain value out of that AoE slow and whittling away at the health pool of most of the members in No Tomorrow's draft.
What sort of assassin could go along with Lunara to guarantee that they are able to get kills on people who are hurt by the poisons of Lunara?
I mean, any melee that can complement the slow. Like, Illidan, like, there's a lot of variables that do but don't fit their comp directly other than another backliner. And the only backliner that stands out is either Odin or it's going to be something like the Li Ming. They go with a Malthael.
I was pretty sure they were going to go for a triple melee here, like they did the last time on Shrines.
Yeah.
But I thought it would be again with the Sonya, so this time getting Malthael.
Yeah, the reason why Malthael seems a little less confident in that kind of pick, or why I didn't even suggest it, is mainly because the double poison is really dope when you have an Executioner. The same way that we've always known that, you know, Greymane with the Cursed Bullet for a while, especially after the first iteration came in. Everybody's like, Cursed Bullet does so much damage, but then everybody was drafting like a dot behind it, and then suddenly it was like, but we can't kill anything because we have nobody to be like, we're deleting this person when they're weak, not when they're full HP. So running the Malthael and the Lunara, yes, Malthael will start at the top half and help it consistently. Lunara will be able to aid with any of those squishies, and so everyone is going to receive that pressure. It still doesn't change the fact that somebody has to be the one doing the damage. Lunara is going to be the one better at that now that we have more of the Leaping Strike play coming out in general. But I do feel like it's still a risk. Arthas is going to be slowing it. They're all slow, sustaining DPS in the long run, and that's how they win those fights.
Well, I will say one thing. It's Malthael versus Rhaegar, which means if Gale Force can force an Ancestral and then drop Touch of Death on that, then they can mitigate a lot of that Ancestral, and then from there try to get the kill. They've got Arthas in position by then, Dahaka maybe for the drags too. So that could be something that is very scary for No Tomorrow, and that starts fairly early on. That's a level 7 talent. Let's get into the game and see the first Malthael of the series and how he does on Infernal Shrines.
Bloodlust. I want to talk about Bloodlust. I have no reason to believe that
Hello,
this
am I
is going.
casting with Jake?
I know. I believe that there's no reason for me to assume that they're going to be going it, but I do want to say that, you know, that isn't a terrible argument into this game because
Are you talking Bloodlust Earthquake?
not only Bloodlust Earthquake, but
They
Gale
have Gust.
Force's comp has to fight when they press R. They have to. you do one of two things. You either disengage it, you have Gust, so it's not going to be that big of a concern. The other one is you just beat them in that fight. Bloodlust suffers from the same problem. It is we have to fight now, and that's why it's so easy to be able to walk away from. But when your opponent picks that first, and then you go, wait, we can back this up. They have an argument for it. They have isolation, they have auto attack for the false set, they have the Gust for the disengage at inappropriate times when it's failing. I'm not saying this is going to be it, but I've not seen comps or circumstances land to where this is one of the best games and arguments I've seen for it in a long, long while.
That would be awesome if we got to cast a Bloodlust game in this series. This series has already been amazing and so much fun to cast. I would love to see if we got something like that. But the Thrall pick is another one that's sort of throwing me for a loop. We haven't seen too much of the new Thrall since he got his rework. So we'll be keeping track of his build. The standard that we've seen at level 1 is Echo of the Elements, so he is trying to make sure that he can get minion kills. It works with heroes too, but the minion kills, of course, get you the stacks faster to reduce mana cost of Chain Lightning and then get a second charge after you get the 20 kills.
Nice Howling Blast there from King Caffeine, setting things up. Equinox running away, but he does have his E. He's got enough time. Casanova still should have the burrow charge, so just flexing is all we see out of Gale Force eSports so far in this laning phase with their composition, and it's probably only going to get worse. You saw that immense amount of pressure they have with those double dots. I would like to tell you that, well, the late game spike, or that's early game damage, that's not. One's percentile and almost true, and the other one only gets stronger as the game moves on. So you got to find a way around. Nice drag there, and that should be the first kill here onto Equinox.
With a Hammer of Justice, Akafe seals the deal for first blood, but No Tomorrow trying to get something out of it by sieging down towers in the bottom. A lot of Malthael players in North America have been favoring Fear the Reaper for the movement speed at level 1, but Fan going more for the original talent that we heard would be the strongest for him, the must pick for him of Death's Reach to increase the range of Wraith Strike. So even if someone tries to disengage, you know, there's a barrel roll away, trying to run away from the poisons, Fan still has the range to be able to Wraith Strike back on, reapply his Reaper's Mark, and continue the fight. First Shrine is active, Dread.
It is, and Gale Force has found themselves 5 of the Skeletal Defenders, but Malthael and the rest of the members are yet to be able to move up. No Tomorrow here, patiently waiting as they restore the balance here of the Skeletal Defenders. Falstad's going for that side soak. Gale Force moving on up. Dahaka is trying to pressure, so it's going to be, again, the side soak and the 4-mans going head-to-head here up on top.
Ooh, man. I wondered if this would be the pick. Frostwolf Pack for Equinox is a trying time for him because he has to hit 7 heroes in a row, not missing, not dying, with his Feral Spirit to reduce the cooldown and mana cost of Feral Spirit.
There's about one Thrall in the world right now that I am confident that can get that most of the time. And Rich is that Thrall.
I knew it.
Yeah, that's about the only Thrall that I feel that way.
Mike, Equinox hits Wind Fury. No Tomorrow back out, away from the Dahaka danger.
Nice flask over the wall, but it's merely just poke. No Tomorrow moves up. Tiger JK able to dodge the Howling Blast there. He's going to focus now onto the minion wave. Experience is relevant, but the Skeletal Defenders maybe more so as we're closing in on 10 left for both of these teams. Equinox receives a bit of pressure. Howling Blast does connect for Caffeine, but 34, 36, it's still going up. No Tomorrow's pinned, but they're so close to getting this Punisher, Gilly.
Oh, that pin is going to hurt. Thrall goes down, resetting his stacks. Michael Udall burrows, but No Tomorrow hoping that they can get the counter kill. They do get the Mortar Punisher, but at what cost? Casanova burrow charges out, receives a heal, is staying alive, has the shield as well for himself, and No Tomorrow actually take out Malthael.
Can they get more? That's the first setup. They have more kills here. Flask over the wall? No, not enough damage, and Dahaka manages to make it out.
So No Tomorrow walk away with the first Punisher and even tie up the kills. This is huge for No Tomorrow. If they could make sure that they don't get behind in the early game, then they don't have to be forced into any sort of awkward, risky calls that we know they can make. We've seen them make, but not having to deal with that would be quite nice for No Tomorrow.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like if you're a team that is so confident in the later stages of the game, when you fall behind, you always go, guys, don't worry, this is what we're used to. When you get ahead, you guys go, how do we lose this game? Like, seriously, you know, if you're used to fighting from behind, it can feel like unworldly to shot call from a leading's perspective when you're a team comfortable from losing behind, because I mean, that's in general when I was competitively playing, that's what I was known for. I sucked at the early game, but I knew I could win the late game. And when we won early, I was just like, doesn't matter who's on the other side of this battlefield, I've got this.
Did it ever make you nervous? Like, what do I do? I'm ahead.
Yeah, it does make you second guess. You're like, okay, so then you go, am I missing something? You take your 13, 16 spikes, you take all the, you know, reasonable foresight of what the game is going to entail, and you go, at any point, do I actually have better odds of losing a fight than I do now? And if the answer is no, you go, well, either I'm dumb and I'm going to learn something this game, or you go, this is a big old W. Fat one, right there.
No, tomorrow would love to get the fat W, as Dread would say, in this series and be up 2 games. Have that extra cushioning of the game over Gale Force again. Gale Force, though, they have their Dahaka. They have the ability to side soak if things get dire versus No Tomorrow and be able to keep them in the experience game. Thrall has picked up Ancestral Wrath. Looking at Frostwolf he is at 1 stack. He did have some stacking at the last Shrine fight, but unfortunately to his demise, losing the stacks. But Ancestral Wrath will help him not only be able to do some percentage damage to an opponent, but also keep himself healed up too.
That is almost 100. Wow, that is actually ridiculous, the amount of self-healing there. 150% bonus. So that means if you see him use, because Blood for Blood actually gets used traditionally, because it's essentially Blood for Blood, different talent tiers, slightly different effects. So knowing what we know in the world of Blood for Blood, you can use it on the backline for 100% confirming a kill, but most of the time you see it's just to steal the HP off of the front line. Now amplifying that by giving it that 50% bonus, Thrall, you just drop it onto probably Arthas is your best focus when it comes to the HP, and he's going to heal up quite nicely.
And you get it pretty fast, too, because you get a stack every time Frostwolf Resilience procs, as long as you're throwing out your abilities, and you have that even better once you get Echo of the Elements done, because then you have the 2 charges. But we've got a team fight underway as Fan dives into all of the members of No Tomorrow who get through Tormented Souls without losing somebody.
Look at those heroics,
Sundering,
man.
Locust Swarm.
And look at the other side. They burnt 90-second cooldowns in the fight, just didn't even look close. There is no chance they have to stick around this, or No Tomorrow is going to flat bully them. Oh wait, that was exactly what I was talking about with their comp, is every hero, Uther, Arthas, and Malthael, all 3 are like, when I press R, I need this fight or I'm going to lose it.
What do you think of No Cocoon?
So a lot of it, okay, so we've seen this, oh wait a minute, nice Sundering there for Thrall over the wall. Equinox, they're trying to get the damage there. They dropped the Ancestral, maybe not even needed. And now we see this full retreat Akka face on out. Will they be able to get it?
We have an Impale.
They
Equinox
don't even need
there,
it.
Throws out Feral Spirit, which, by the way, ding, that quest has been completed. So now 50% less mana cost and cooldown. So you have that root much more often, which will help if he goes into Alpha Wolf at level 16. When we get there, we'll talk about it, but please continue on your point.
Oh, it's just that I don't mind, you know, the fact that we see them move, the fact that we have Sunder on the other side, but you were talking mainly into, I forgot your question.
Locust Swarm over Cocoon.
So with the Cocoon has been really high impact. Into Arthas, I like the idea of moving into Locust Swarm. Around the map objective, I like the idea of moving into Locust Swarm. So those are 2 factors that I'm not surprised to see the Locust Swarm come out, but you've got something here. Yeah,
a lot of people have been running it up against Malthael, but Malthael actually had a talent at 13 called Inevitable End buffed.
Yes.
Where the idea is you cocoon Malthael once he goes into Tormented Souls, but if he has Inevitable End, it's 2 seconds of Unstoppable. So you actually can just wait and watch and then try to hit that and dodge the cocoon so that you make sure that you get Tormented Souls out. And the buff was that the cooldown was even reduced on it too.
That's, you know what, that is a really awesome thing.
Is there a butt in this?
Yeah, so I think it's dope. I think it's a really awesome innovation. I completely agree, but I also feel like it's getting a little bit too much credit too fast. Now that everybody sees the buff coming out, a lot of people fail to underestimate how difficult in the middle of everything going on, how hard it is to be able to identify directly a cocoon. Supports have to deal with that, I don't know, since the beginning of the game, actually. They've had this small opportunity to be able to remove the cleanse. Cocoon animation cast is the same as almost every other animation, a new bracket cast. Then the actual cocoon itself, baby in terms of animation size. Just tiniest baby. The fat W, take the exact opposite. It's a baby cocoon. So yes, there is counterplay and the talents have been there, but if that's the argument, why not do it before this? You could have. If your problem is Cocoon and it's solely Cocoon, you could have done it the same value before the buff than now. The other talent outweighed it, is the argument that teams are making.
I think people just now are recognizing, because obviously Malthael is our newest hero to HGC, so people are just starting to recognize. So when things immediately started, Ethereal Existence was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But Ethereal Existence was nerfed the same time that Inevitable End was buffed. So that's inevitably, no pun intended, going to get people to start checking out other talents at that tier, and maybe it was always good, and it's just once you start, oh, actually, this is kind of perfect for my main counter. Yeah, no, I like it. It's just that I have heard a lot of hype around this, like, oh, look, we can stop a core mechanic, and we've seen a lot of Bright Wings more often. But I was just immediately, I heard that, I was like, we could have done that before, and nobody was willing to, but maybe it's enough with the nerf, maybe it's enough with this Gust. Nice peel for No Tomorrow. Army of the Dead was popped, but this time at least Divine Shield and Tormented Souls are not resources used. So No Tomorrow, the reinitiation is still possible Gale Force can win this fight. The fan still did take Ethereal Existence. It gives him the physical armor, and if you can get on a lot of the members of No Tomorrow, it still will give you a lot of the physical armor, and it pairs well with the fact that he still took Black Harvest. But we're gonna have the team fight as Fan jumps in the back, has his Tormented Souls. Love the patience here from Equinox for not panicking. Now Jason takes a lot of damage. The Sundering throw down, splitting the seas of 4 members here of Gale Force on the other side. Fan accepts his fate. He will go the other direction, try and create a bit of room. Mission complete. Only 1 member will be lost here for Gale Force eSports, but the Punisher will be going over to No Tomorrow. And once more, we look at this game, and it's just kind of, when is Gale Force going to be able to get that comeback? Well, now looking at Fan's build, he really wants 16 with Memento Mori. He's finished Black Harvest, but definitely you would hope that you would not be as far behind as you are at this point, especially since No Tomorrow, while on their way to 16, they have a Punisher. It's a frozen Punisher, so there's going to be those to look out for. No Tomorrow, do they take out? Looks like no, they're just going straight for the gate, so not taking out a small wall yet. Moving up here past the wall. It's not too promising to get this keep. It's possible, but it's not by any means going over to No Tomorrow for free, especially after the leap cooldown burn, and it looks like they're going to retreat. So I want to talk about how these fights need to play out if Gale Force is going to win, because at this point, something's got to change. And my biggest concern, what I thought was going to happen with the comp of Gale Force, it's coming to life here, and they can change it. But it's one of those not what you expect at first glance. Again, when you look at the stereotypes of how characters are going to play, and when you have them on your team, sometimes they have to adjust for specific comps, and this is one of them. The Dahaka can't side soak and Arthas be the one who steals the fight. Dahaka has to bait the fight as the frontliner, and Arthas has to flank. That way, when Army of the Dead is dropped in Gust, somebody needs to draw a Gust or at least draw resources so it's not an army for a Gust. They burned Asunder just to try and catch out Fan here. That's a very short cooldown, though. Not very short, but reasonably so for Heroic. Dahaka stalking in. King Caffeine trying to keep No Tomorrow here so that Michael Udall can catch somebody with a drag. Throws it out, misses. Gust there once again. No Tomorrow disengage. Burning and opening with the Sundering there is not a fight that No Tomorrow wanted to take, even with the 16 talent tier advantage. But with that Gust down, sadly, Gale Force is not going to have 16 to be able to capitalize on it, but I do really think that they need Arthas to come from a different angle. If your frontliner does not have hard CC and initiation, Arthas can't approach a fight left or right, almost ever. It just 90% of the time, it just goes, here's my army, and it's like, if they have to take the fight, then they're screwed, but if they don't have to, you see the disengage, and then Arthas suddenly becomes a Sonya. I mean, even worse in terms of survivability. Yeah, as long as he's sitting there, then even if everyone else is gusted away, then Fan has the increased range on Wraith Strike. So once he gets into range, if he still has his mark on somebody, then he can teleport back in and be on top of the fight. But the fact that Arthas is still there, slowing No Tomorrow from just running away like they did in the last fight, may make the difference. We've got another shrine. There are many places to flank from, so we'll see if Arthas wants to take that route. Yeah, with Gale Force not taking that mid fort yet, that removes bottom from being a flank angle. So suddenly, let's just say Gale Force identifies that, and they agree, and they make that route, and they go with the Arthas flank. If you're No Tomorrow, you also know there's only one flank angle. So suddenly, because the lack of opening up the map and how much they've managed to be able to manipulate, No Tomorrow has a bottom flank angle.
But Gale Force only has a top flank angle. So again, it's one of those, even if it was recognized and we see it adjusted, it's really hard to do, even now.
Well, here we go with another Shrine phase. This will threaten another keep of Gale Force eSports.
See how much pressure Calf received? Now Mikey Doll is looking to get the flank, drawing the cleanse. They all in, they disengage immediately.
Even using Wind Fury. Turnaround Sunder. Jason and Equinox just blow Fan up.
Gale Force eSports is absolutely falling apart from the pressure of No Tomorrow here. You can tell they don't know what's going on. That is not uncommon to see a team do that type of all-in initiation successfully, but for that to be a FAM as the guy off on his own right there, that is not common. So that, again, only indicates more kind of just the mentality that Gale Force has to be dealing with here in this series as they find themselves even in game score, but down in game number 3.
2 full levels down, a Punisher down, nearly a keep down to No Tomorrow. No Tomorrow immediately moved on to take out a small wall, do damage to this front wall, so that there is less safety to defend versus this Punisher. Michael Udall absorbs the jump, Curse Bullet behind it. He has to use his adaptation even,
Look
but
at
will
Calf.
get the heal.
Calf got the flank this time, so it's actually a realistic fight for them to take, but there is Trees flying in with the Gust. Locust Swarm eating away at those souls. And now there is the Punisher leaping over. The damage is there, but the heals from Akaface are fine. 2-man Howling Blast slowing things down, but Calf has so much pressure onto him, but they got Equinox. Thrall is caught out and down.
Gale Force eSports able to take down Thrall. Can they get more kills? There's no Gust this time, and K1 Pro continually trying to slow down the retreat. Michael Udall stalks in from the side,
but he
goes
has no
straight
adaptation.
after Falstad.
That was the one cooldown. He burnt the burrow. They have to get this. Rhaegar has no mana. He can't drop out of wall form. Not even going to need it to. There we go. Fan sealing another kill here. But Gilly, let's be honest, this is still miles behind. Look at the keeps, look at the structures. Beyond the fact they're yet to take a single fort, No Tomorrow can just look at the top keep, it's dead. They're closing in on that 20 spike.
They're gonna do more than look at that top keep.
Yeah.
Look at Jason.
Jason's like,
Dun, 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 dun.
covert Falstad complete.
That's not the song I was singing. Dun, 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 dun.
You just scream charge after that one, right?
Yeah.
You just yell at them.
Charge!
20 is picked up. Gale Force, they managed to open up mid front wall. Not ideal. So front walls are saved experience. You view those when you're man, we're behind in kills, but you're but look at the map. They've got a couple of structures we can make up for that. At this point in the game, we're not looking for the 20 spike. That is nice, but I would argue I would take all the experience gained on that top fort, and I gain nothing. And mid-fort die 100% just so I have more maneuverability for my Arthas alone is worth more than that experience gained.
Not to mention opening up a win condition.
Yes.
There are 3 forts, 3 keeps.
To be fair, a lot of people forget, apparently, that win conditions do exist without fort dying. You can sidewall a keep. It's rare with Sylve out of the meta, but I'm just saying, as a dude who absolutely loves to take those type of fights and calls, it's still possible without these forts. You just need to, the win condition to make that happen is you have to choose a fight next to a keep. On their shaman camp, that's really, you invade there. If you manage to get 3 to 4 people, you're just oh, we win.
It's still...
This is it.
It's still fine, though, for No Tomorrow.
Yeah.
No Tomorrow doesn't feel any pressure because they have all their forts and keeps up. So they can play without the pressure, whereas it's Gale Force eSports who is maybe even a little bit panicked, or at least nervous at how this game has gone so far. But they got a couple of picks, the first 2 picks that have let them make sure that they haven't lost 2 keeps or even the game. Had No Tomorrow been the one to get the picks in the position that they were with the Punisher, very well could have been a double keep play, if not more.
You can tell No Tomorrow gets very greedy and excited whenever they get in these positions. That's about the 3rd time in all 3 games. One time Casanova was very heavily punished. That's the second one where they make a call where you can tell No Tomorrow they wanted to know how many people are back, but they stayed with the minions. The minions will do the exact same thing, so why are you up there? Unless you go past the minions, that's the only time. They're risking a lot of things, and they aren't getting punished yet, but I just wanted to note that you can see their eagerness, and I'm comfortable saying that I think that will punish them at some point in the series. If it's not this game, it'll be the next.
Makes sense. They are a young team that, well, together are young, but are now finding themselves with a lot of success right at the beginning of their time together as a team. Falstad has flown in. Jason is here for the disengage if Gale Force eSports jumps on a no tomorrow, which you would think that they would, but they are dealing with the Punisher very quickly.
Army of the Dead's already popped to be able to sustain through this lead. Fan
Sunder
goes in. Sunder splits them away from the core. They're going to try and all in. Fan getting a lot of value. The D-Shield and ripping through them there with the Tormented Souls, but nobody is down yet except for the Punisher as it finds itself a little bit of mouth ale poison, and it's going to be falling down here. No shields, no damage, and no tomorrow doesn't end.
They do not in the game, but they get 4% on the core. They've taken out 2 of the 3 keeps of Gale Force eSports, and they have their eyes set on this third. There's no Tormented Souls, there's no Adaptation, there's no Army or Divine Shield. There's a lot of things that are down for Gale Force.
Yeah, but I still feel like, oh my, curse
He's
bullet.
He's going to take it, he's going to come back.
They get it? Okay, so he's going to come back to life. Conveniently, both the people that killed can come back to life post-20. So that is going to be the case there. But Mike Udall can't, and he goes down. Fan now looking to turn things. But again, he's already burnt the Tormented Souls. What can he make happen?
Yeah, full Ancestral hits Jason too, so there wasn't even a mark there to steal away some of that healing. Equinox dives in with Wind Rush. Casanova follows suit. K1 Pro is all but dead, but lives.
And the shielding now is gone. No tomorrow sets its eyes onto the core here. No mana, no problem, says Tiger JK, because this looks weak. Like No Tomorrow's taking a lead in this series now, 2-1.
No Tomorrow got the lead off of the very first Punisher and never let go in that game. One fight, one moment where Gale Force got a couple of picks, but because they were massively behind in structures, all they could get was a front wall, and No Tomorrow were quick to regain their composure and the control. Yeah,
very well done there by No Tomorrow, but I feel like both teams have to be looking at how those team fights played out and going, there was a compositional error here somewhere in the side of Gale Force eSports, so much so that whether it be removing the false ad because the disengage against an all-in comp is too big of a problem, but suddenly what was a very high rotation false ad, I was questioning in games 1 and 2, what if it's their response to Arthas? Just because Arthas does have that problem. Like all 3 of them do, but both times the Arthas has been picked up, the false ad has been the rotation directly after. Granted, globals were banned out before, maybe a parameter that's necessary to see that draft pattern, but got to keep in mind just the inter-meta going to be developed here between these 2 teams, and that's working out for No Tomorrow both times. Yeah, that definitely makes sense, but it's funny to see that it is No Tomorrow who has more of the focus and being able to get that Falstad. Granted, Jason has played Falstad for a very long time, all the way throughout Phase 1 and even earlier into last year, but to think about a team, one of these 2 teams having favor with the Falstad and it not being Gale Force, who for so long loved their globals. It's funny to see that inter-team meta develop. Yeah, I'm excited for it, and I'm looking forward to the next draft. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything I really want to see when it comes to priority onto both sides here. Because to be honest, even though the Falstad Arthas debacle or circumstances that we're talking about has come to light here, I still really love Gale Force's priority onto the Arthas. I like, maybe it's a little bit too high. Like, for instance, to Dahaka Arthas blindly like that, it's like, whether or not I'm sold on that one. But at least we see that priority and we can see the value of that hero as a frontliner beyond just the stitches. Because we've seen a lot of stitches in NA, but it's been kind of like, oh, there's a hook and very little follow-up, not the kind of explosion you typically need when you pick that hero. First pick this series has won every single game. Same thing happened when No Tomorrow played versus Tempo Storm. So Gale Force eSports almost certainly will pick first pick. The only time we've seen them forego getting first pick in order to have the Battleground choice was for Braxis Holdout. Braxis isn't even on the table. But if Gale Force want to win the series, not only do they need to win the next game having first pick, they have to win then after that, very likely with second pick. Second pick on a map that they would at least get to choose. So at least they get to say the final map, which you could argue is an advantage, but most would probably say it's a disadvantage because most teams pick their maps that they're comfortable with very early on. But that's draft strategy, best of 5 strategy. You know, I don't know what to say about that one. I would be like, well, we made it to game 5 and we get to choose the map. And you're like, but we don't have an advantage. Be like, well, then win the maps before 100% of the time. I'm looking at the most picked maps, though, of Gale Force. Braxis, gone, Cursed, played, Battlefield, played, Shrines, played. We've got Tomb. What does go next? Tomb? And then, man,